Um, you guys continuing the 400 plus 50?
Yes. Yesterday I did the 100 minutes of content. And it's
Sure.
kind of addicting.
Really? Yeah. Tell me more about it.
It's like fun once you get into it. Like then
Yeah.
you like want to keep doing it and keep going.
Yeah. Compounding effect, right? So it's almost like prospecting. So the stuff that you do now will pay dividends like 3 months from now. So yeah. Um, any uh any progress on the follow-ups? Anything like that?
Follow-ups?
Like the outreach?
Like we're just getting more followers and like more, interactions in the DMs from people who we haven't heard from in a while.
Okay. Okay. So we're starting to get that engagement.
Mhm.
Cool. Cool.
Just even the formula in itself is so valuable and powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, while we're waiting, any questions that you guys have that if addressed, you guys already know that I already like to start with this that when addressed that we can just propel ourselves forward.
I don't know. Do you have any questions for us?
No, no. I mean, this is about you guys, right? So yeah, I mean, if you have any questions on like what we went over, yeah. But if not, we can just go ahead and get started.
Get started.
Cool. All righty. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. All righty. Can you guys see school?
Mhm.
Cool. So, welcome to day 4. Can you believe it? All right. So, today we're going to talk about consultative base selling, right? So, we're going to expand on what we introduced um, yesterday, which was the NEPQ, right? And for reference, let me just go over that real quickly, right? So you guys get some reference, and it'll make more sense when we, talk about what we're going to talk about today. So, going again through the question or the stages, right? I'm going to briefly touch up on this, and then I'm going to share how we utilize this in person. Because yesterday was how we use NAPQ for DMs, but it's correlated, right? So if you master these stages, it's all intertwined, right? So DMs, um, in-person appointment setting, and believe it or not, content, right? This has been a very huge kind of staple in our content creation is just acknowledging these stages. And when mastered, this is how we sell people on our services before we say the price by pushing them further down the sales cycle. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Cool. So, connecting questions. These questions help build rapport and initiate conversation in a way that it makes people feel more comfortable, right? In terms of the prospects that you have. And also, like the thing that I found out, like through experience, is just teaching this to our front desk staff or client coordinators um, tends to decrease sales tension, right? And the more that we decrease sales tension, just the feeling of like, man, I don't want to sell anybody, anything like that, which I'm sure you guys have yourselves, right? The more that we can decrease that, the more we increase our conversion rates, right? So it's a way where it's tenfold, right? Can scale like operationally how we're selling, right? So connecting questions is again the goal is to create a connection by asking something relevant to them, making them feel heard, and reducing any initial resistance. And it's easier than you think, right? The thing that I like to hone in on is just take your normal selling voice. Do you think you would say that in that tone with your own friends and family? Probably not, right? And even that is miles ahead of your competition around you, right? So, what has been undefeated at our clinic, right? And I'll give you some context for this recording. Typically, when I consult other clinic owners and I say, "Hey, what's your opener when you call?" And it's mostly like, "Hey, this is this Ashley? Hey, this is um, Jordan from X Med Spa. Wondering if I saw your name came across my desk about semaglutide. Wondering if you had an opening to chat with the doc, right, or something like that." Who does that sound like? A salesman, right? So what has been undefeated at our clinic is like just saying their name with an upwards inflection just to as a pattern interrupt to snap them out of it. Rena? And they're like, huh? What? You know what I mean? And a lot of the times that's really all we need, right, to push the conversation forward, right? So connecting questions. And I'll give you guys examples. I just want to reiterate kind of the framework here. Situation questions is where we explore the prospect's current situation. And we want to, here is where we want to practice active listening, right? Um, Many times that in practice and sales, many of us are already asking, like, what are you already doing? But more often than not, when we're not slowing things down, and if you guys remember from yesterday, a lot of the times, if we tend to talk too much, we sell ourselves out of the sale. But when we slow things down, right, we can actively listen and build a connection. If you guys remember, one of the three main C's of building a clinic is building connections. And more often than not, when someone's just reading off a script, just asking, "Hey, what have you tried before in the past?" Right? Typically, how it goes is you ask, they respond, but you're already thinking about your next question, and the next response is "Gotcha, gotcha," or "Got it." Right? Head nod. That's not building a connection. That's just reading off a script. Yeah. So to ask like, hey, what have you tried before in the past to reach your aesthetic goals, right? Even with a tonality and cadence. Hey, just curious, like visibly throwing your hands in the air. Hey, just curious, like, what have you tried before? Right. And a framework that I like to teach is whatever you ask, you should ask it again in a different way, just acknowledging the fact that um, most people, when you ask in a selling scenario, when you ask a question like this, they will always give you a surface level answer if connection is not built yet. So it's like, hey, what motivated you to reach out? Oh, I just saw your ad, thought I'd check it out, right? And then what do we do? Like, cool, got it. Well, this is what we do, right? And we start the sales process without actually slowing things down and getting to the root cause of why they're there in the first place. Because this is aesthetics, right? This is a discretionary service. They do not need this to live. You guys know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we want to sell the vacation, not the plane ride, right? How do we do that? We got to like pry and be like, why are you here? So if you do get like, oh, I just saw the ad. Oh, got it. Well, what about the ad caught your eye? Right? It's like, oh, I don't know, Facebook. Well, hey, just want to see if I could help. Anything specific, right? Just want to make sure this is right for you. Oh, yeah, well, saw that you're doing weekly weight loss, and a couple of my friends have done it. So now we're anchoring. Now we're anchoring emotion to it, right? In this example, he said, "Hey, my friends are doing it. Now we can anchor in memories, something like that, to build a connection, right?"
Yeah.
So, did you have a question, Rena?
No, it's just agreed.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So this helps set up the conversation for deeper probing into their needs and challenges. Additionally to that, in this stage is where we typically get ammunition to overcome the price objection. Right. So to ask, I'm sticking with weekly weight loss here. So I was like, hey, I mean, just curious, what have you done before in the past to reach your aesthetic goals? Oh, I go to the gym. Oh, I'm just curious. I'm be looking at that myself. How much, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to 24. Oh, how long you been going there? 5 years. Oh, how much are you spending a month? $100, right? So now, right, for the people that don't know and haven't been in this challenge, right? You guys already know this, but now we can anchor in when we say, hey, it's just for the sake of the example, I'm going to go high, right? Hey, our mommy makeover package is $5,000, right? And they're like, hey, I don't know, like this is too much for me. Feel empowered that you've gotten the ammunition to save them time and money. Is, hey, wait, just totally get it. Just want to make sure that you don't miss out on something great. Hey, Samuel, didn't you say that you've been going to the gym for like 5 years and you've spent, $100, right? What is that? I mean, I would,
5,000.
yeah, exactly. 5,000. Um, be like, what if I can save you the time, right? Because this is $5,000. In this example, I'd probably do more, right? I would have made the numbers higher, but in this example, it's the same price. Um, what if I can guarantee that you get the results that you're looking for in a fraction of the time? It's not going to take you 5 years. It's the same cost. Is that valuable to you? Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So stuff like that, right? And again, I usually shoot for a higher number, right? But it's just so happened it broke even. So
We can say
that's
10,000.
huh?
10,000 spent and then 5,000 for the makeover.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So I was like, yeah, what if I saved you time and money, right? Cut that in half. So yeah. So that's situational. Problem awareness is in this stage, you're asking questions to help the prospect become more aware of their specific problems that they're facing. These questions uncover the emotional or practical pain points that need solving, allowing the prospect to vocalize in their own frustrations and desires for improvement. There's a couple key factors here. Take the example of the person going to the gym for 5 years, spending $100 a month. They probably didn't connect the dots, right? So now we're just making them aware of the problems that's already being had. And if they say it, right? So the key point here is for them to vocalize their own frustrations. If they formulate the idea and acknowledge that they have a problem by you asking questions, they feel like your solution is the thing to help them reach their goals, right? So you didn't say anything because no one likes to be sold, right? No one wants to be like, hey, don't you want this? It'll definitely, help maintain buoyancy in your skin. Like people want this, right? If they come up with that conclusion, or if they at this point in the stage where they're like, oh man, maybe I don't know how to maintain my look, you know what I mean? They're going to start to look to you for answers, because by just merely asking questions and getting them to realize problems that they didn't even know that they had, you are now building your own authority in person, like on in person, whether it's on the call or in the consult, right? Does that make sense? Solution awareness is once the problem is clear, right? These questions shift towards a solution, right? So you guide the prospect to recognize that your way, your unique mechanism is the only way to solve this problem, right? The stage is where you start positioning your service as a potential solution, but in a consultative, non-pushy way, right? An example is like, well, hey, Samuel, we talked about a lot. Just curious, separate of what we talked about on this call and kind of what we offer, did you find anything out there that might get you close to reaching your aesthetic goals? Right. Or if we're doing our jobs correctly and not in this example, is like, did you find anything remotely close to help you get wedding fit for your daughter's wedding? Right. No, I haven't. So what's the opposite of no? There's nothing, that will help me. You got to be the only solution.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Something I always like to mention again is just as far as their skincare routine and creams. On average, I hear that, most people spend over 100 per month on just creams. So I'm like, my question always is, okay, great. And have you seen results from that? And oftentimes they're like, no, or maybe a little bit, like I feel hydrated, but it's not the glow I want, or the hyperpigmentation's not gone. And that's where then I'm
Mhm.
like, well, hey, I've got this cream here, proven results, and it's guaranteed to show you a difference within 30 days or your money back.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like,
So
you have a trial, why not try it? You don't like
yeah.
it, come back.
So I like that for a later stage.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because if you think of it this way, right? In terms of content, like there are, I think you guys have heard me say like not to break pace, right? And if you break, it's for the people that don't know that are new here or even watching the recording. When you guys are creating content, it should draw the viewer in, and it should feel like it's almost like you want the reason why we work so hard to appeal to them on a psychographic level is when they're viewing your content, they should feel like time has stopped. You are speaking directly to them, right? So by you asking, hey, what have you tried before? Has that worked for you? And they're like, no, it hasn't. And for you just to like zip it up and just know like just let them mull it over, that is powerful. So it's like, oh man. And then they're going back in their mind like, yeah, it hasn't worked. How long have I been doing this? Sheesh. You know what I mean? You are correct in what you said, but in a later stage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, usually this is something I mention like at the end of my appointment, like once I've done the treatment, and I'm like, hey, by the way, I also have
Oh
this
yeah.
add
You're
on.
already doing it then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanted to, say it for everybody. But yeah, you're correct. Um, yeah. So solution awareness, right? Once the problem is clear, shift towards the solution, right? And then the last one is actually pretty interesting, right? This is one of the more, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but it will cause friction, right? You guys already know my saying, increase flow, add friction, right? But it's consequence. Like finally, these questions are designed to help the prospect see the consequences of not taking the action, right? Or to lead them to the next step, such as booking a consultation. These questions encourage the prospect to move forward and explore the solution more deeply, often using local commitment close or like offering a consultation for a specific time, right? So an example is like, hey, just curious, like, if we didn't lose 30 pounds by your daughter's wedding, like what would happen, right? Other than the obvious, right? So my kind of style in this type of like consequence questions framework is to get ahead of like the common stuff, right? Because like, oh, what happens if you don't lose 30 pounds? Oh, I'd still be overweight, you know what I mean? Or still have you know, my current body, right? So other than the obvious, I throw that in there like, hey, other than the obvious, if we didn't reach your goals and by your daughter's wedding, what would happen, right? We already know what will happen, but for them to say it is part of sales. Yeah. Like, because if we say it, it's not going to be as powerful. But if they say it, they've made it real. That makes sense? Cool. So in the modules that you'll have access to after the call, I've given some example questions, right? Some example questions and even some more example questions and answers, right? So, um, actually, we'll go here. So overcoming objections, sales questions, right? We're gonna kind of role play NEPQ for medical aesthetics here. And when I say role play, I'm going to just read it off, right? Some examples, some responses. And if anyone feels daring, we can do a live role play if you guys wish, or we'll leave it up for Q&A. But I will say people who do role play, in which we do role plays like every week, tend to, you know, get the best results, right? All right. So new client inquiry, scenario one. Client is inquiring about anti-aging treatments, but feel unsure about the results, right? So, hey, and with this tonality, listen how I like kind of tackle it. I was like, hey, Ashley, thanks for coming in today. What got you into what just curious, what got you interested in exploring some of our anti-aging treatments, right? When you read this, I just want to put the sprinkle, some, thoughts on here. This is a framework. I obviously can't create a script for your local, state or city, right? So just take the framework, tailor it to where you live. Make sense and fair, right? So, so this type of question opens up the conversation by showing them genuine curiosity. If you guys even notice, like my tone is like kind of aloof, right? Kind of aloof, like I don't really know what's going on, type of deals. Um, Again, this type of style works well at our clinic. Might not work for California people, right? Just throwing it out there. But the framework is you're using a tone that typically salespeople don't use in the beginning, right? So it's a pattern interrupt. So we're breaking the mold, right? We're breaking repetition because we're sold things or try to be sold things like when we enter the mall, all this stuff. So we're just breaking the mold, right? And if we do this effectively, we're more likely to get a genuine response, right? So, hey, yeah, I've noticed my skin isn't as firm as it used to be, and I'm thinking about doing something for the lines around my eyes, right? Totally understandable. And this is situational, totally understandable. My clients, a lot of our clients come in feeling the same way. Just curious, have you tried any treatments or any skincare routines that you're liking so far? Right? So we're just gathering it, right? So a couple of things will happen in this scenario, right? And they can say like, yeah, I'm trying this stuff. I really like it, right? Um, a natural response to I really like it. Normally people will just like, that's the roadblock, and then sales are like crumbling, right? Like, I really like it. How do you move forward from that? An option would be, oh, anything, just curious, anything that you would change about it if you could, right? Forces them to think about it. Yes, actually, right? Or if they say no, then okay, we're starting to paint the picture that we are the only solution, right? So tried some creams, but nothing really seems to work. This is the first time I'm looking into something a little bit more serious. Got it. Just curious, like what, if you guys notice, I use just curious a lot. That's my pattern interrupt, right? So I use a lot of visual cues and upwards tonality just to break the mold, right? You guys already know, like I'm into repetition. So my pattern interrupt, like kind of phrase is like, hey, just curious, or off the record, right? Is a big one that I tend to teach and use, right? So just curious, like what bothers you the most? Are the lines and skin firmness the main things that you're looking to improve, or are there any other concerns, right? This question and problem awareness helps them articulate their problem more clearly, right? We don't want to say the problem for them. We want for them to say it, right? So yeah, it's mostly the lines and just an overall tired look. I feel like my skin has lost its glow, right? One of the things I'm going to add here, because I noticed that a framework or this type of script doesn't do it justice. Um, in this example, I would be like, oh, well, what do you mean by that? Right? Just don't take it face value. So if the skin has lost its glow, and if they just truthfully say this and that's it, just be like, oh, well, what do you mean by that? Right? And then if they go more into detail as to why um, their skin has lost its glow, then now we're anchoring in emotion and memories. That makes sense? Makes sense. Yeah, we've helped a lot of people with like similar concerns using our mommy makeover package, and truthfully, a lot of people, see results. Right? Is you know, and people see a big improvement in firmness and radiance in kind of just a few sessions. And this is a big one. Rather than saying, don't you want this or let's get you booked, it's like, does that sound like something that you'd want to explore? Right? Shrugged shoulders. You know, does that sound like something that resonates with you at all? Right? Or does that sound like something that might help you, might help, something that you'd want to explore? Do you think something like this would work for you? The reason why that's a big one is if they say yes, yes, I do think it'll work. Great, you said it. I didn't. Right? So now again, you guys see the pattern here. We know we know what we want them to do, right? This is typically sales 101, but the main difference here is the things that you've been taught to say in a sales scenario, just get them to say it. Right? That's the easiest way I can like kind of describe that.
So if I could just mention, again, is the better approach to be timid, more laid back, really kind of like, again, I've always heard sales to be, hey, you got to be confident, you're selling them on this. Versus, again, this approach is really new for me where you're very much kind of laid back. It's like, oh, I don't know if you want this. Do you want this? Like, is that something you're interested in? Like,
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on where you're at, right? So we have a lot of female clients, and this type of approach has been wonders for our clinic in our local area, right? So you're in California, I believe. You have to find that route, right? Because um, yeah, it's different for everybody, right? So people in California, maybe you're around more executives and they want to be a little bit more stern and be like, I have the solution, but still I want you to say it.
got
Could
it.
be the factor. But this is where, you know, you test your hypothesis. Oh, it sucks. All right, let's try it in a different way until we find the right kind of methodology that appeals to them on a psychographic level. And here's the aha moment, right? It's the same kind of strategy that we take with content, right? So here's why that's a great question, Samuel, and you are driving the community with these new ideas. So thank you. um, because it's causing me to like really dig deep as to the why I do things, right? So thank you. Um, the reason why I'm a very big like, you know, spearhead testing is because to truthfully, you know, get the more affluent clients is to communicate your value, right? So, you know, think about the client experience for your aesthetic clinic, right? If you're appealing to them content wise, and when they finally see you in person, it's like you're like a mini celebrity, right? For the people that want to build their personal brand. And now you're like hitting it home with like, this person is actually listening to me as opposed to I went to the other clinic. They're just trying to sell me their monthly semi-glutide membership. I'm gonna go with Samuel because it's all cohesive, the content and in-person experience, which leads to more profitability and sales. And then months of doing this leads to more inbound calls, more inbound messages. Yeah. I know it was long-winded, but I feel like it was valuable to kind of paint the picture of how it's all interconnected. That makes sense, Samuel? Cool. And I saw your message, so I'm excited for our chat. All right. Consequence question, right? So we want them to acknowledge if we've like painted the picture in this whole process that you're the best thing since sliced bread. I used to hate that analogy when I was younger, but now I'm using it. You're the best thing since sliced bread, right? We want them to say, if they don't figure this out, right, then the world will end, right? How do we get them to feel that way? Is if we just follow the process and get them to talk the whole time, right? We don't want to say it like, oh, well, you know, you might not be wedding fit. You might not look, you know, you might not lose 30 pounds in the time your daughter's wedding. You know what I mean? You might not look like how you want in your dress, like honestly, I haven't even heard people even say that, but this is just an example. I think you shouldn't even say that anyway. But we want them to come to that conclusion, right? And I want to make the distinction here is like, this is a powerful thing, right? Like, I tell my wife this, I was like, I don't use this on you. You know what I mean? Like, because like, I don't want to be like that guy. But we have to be ethical about this. Obviously, we have to make sure that there's a sale to be made in the first place, right? For semaglutides, like, are you, of course, like, are you the right BMI and stuff like that first? Um, but we'd be doing our clients and our patients a disservice if we didn't do stuff like this, right? Because I've talked to many of you in person, like everyone has something more to give than just Botox and semaglutide, right? We're in it to like change people's lives, right? And we'd be doing ourselves, let me rewind that. We'd be doing our clients a disservice in our local community if we didn't take this time to slow things down and get them to realize that it's okay, right? Like we know that what you've tried before in the past hasn't worked, but we are the solution. Make sense? Cool, cool. So in this example, it's like, oh, this sounds interesting, but I'm not sure if it'll work for me. Hey, I get it, right? I think it's just normal to feel unsure before trying anything new, right? But imagine if you could feel refresh and firmer and have a firmer look. Do you think in just a few treatments, do you think something like this might help you, right? I guess, yeah, that would be amazing. Got it. So why don't we schedule a no pressure consultation? Looking at you, Samuel, because I know you did that, right? Why don't we schedule a no pressure consultation where you come in, we'll just discuss we can discuss your skin in more detail, and I'll create a custom plan that's personalized for you. I have time this Sunday. Does that work for you? Right. So I'm going to pause here because we're at the half mark, and already planned out like a different scenario. But any questions on that? I know we talked about a lot, and it's good to like, when I first was learning this, I was like, this is a lot of information, right? But I promise you, you guys have the frameworks in the challenge. Just to look at it and get reps on it, you'll get better, right? Just like with anything. But before we kind of go into like a new scenario, any questions that might help you? No? All right.
I want to go what is it, the back and forth, the story where you trial it,
Oh, you
pretending
want to role
and
play?
role play. So it's like, yeah, I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
that. So
You want to do it now?
if you want to, sure.
Hey, this is your call. Here's what I'll do, right? I'm gonna put up the. Can you guys see my screen? It's okay in this role play because I mean, kudos to you, man. We're at first role play. It's okay to pause and read it before you answer, right? But here's the scenario. Actually, what service do you feel most comfortable with?
Is this me?
Yeah, yeah, you.
We can do Botox.
Okay. So I here's the scenario. I am a lead for Botox. I opted in for your offer on social media. You're calling me, and we can keep our names the same.
Sure.
Cool. Cool. Go ahead.
Hi, is this Jordan?
Yeah. Who's this?
Hi, this is Samuel at Drop of Paradise. I saw your name come across. You clicked on our ad. Is it something specific that caught your attention?
Yeah. No, I saw you running a Botox offer, and yeah, just wanted to check it out.
Cool, cool. Yeah, we're running a 199 for 20 units. Have you ever got Botox before?
I'm gonna pause here, uh, because uh, one, doing wonderful. I wouldn't say that just yet.
No? Okay.
The price, just assume like they already know it.
Sure, but so not reiterate the ad, what they saw,
Well, if it's,
confirmation.
I mean, if I asked, right, that would be one thing, but you just said the price.
Sure. Okay. Because
Does that make
usually
sense?
I have my prices listed on ads, but okay.
Sure,
Um,
sure. But so here, the thing that this might be helpful for everybody, like I might have seen the price before, right? But in this scenario, it's almost like content where I want it to be like we are talking, right? But the second
sure.
you
So just
say a
nothing
price,
price related.
right, I'm
Got it.
back to reality. You know what I mean? So that's the only critique at this point, but everything else was fine, right? Just wanted to say that. All right, continue.
Here, back up.
Yep.
Yeah, again, we've got that ad running. And s-
What you had before was great. Like, what about the ad?
yeah, so what about the ad? And I guess what would be the next good question for me to ask is like, what brought you in? Like, what have you
Uh,
heard?
well,
Or
let me back up here because I know pausing and stuff is hard, but we're gonna go from, hey, what about the ad caught your eye? And I'll respond like,
or-
oh yeah, I just saw you have running a Botox ad, and yeah, just curious about Botox.
gotcha. Yeah. Is there any specific problem that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in my 40s now, and just want to look a little tighter.
Gotcha. Yeah, understandable. And what else have you tried so far?
Like over the counter stuff, like and also I've tried a hydrofacial before, right? Um, I liked it, but I just want to see what else is out there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Hey, I've heard great things about the hydrofacial. Um, so are you happy with your results?
Um, one sec, I'm taking notes for you so I can accurately assess. One sec, pause. um, am I happy with the results? Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Gotcha. Are you looking for any other improvement?
Um, uh, yeah, like I said, I just want to, tighten it up. Is the main thing. Yeah.
Sure thing, of course. I'm just curious if there's a specific date you have in mind or when you'd like to get results achieved by.
I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. I don't know, in the next month or so, I think.
Gotcha. Hey, again, trying to get results within a month, that's pretty darn fast.
Yeah.
And again, if you're interested, I can provide you with some solutions.
Okay. Uh, what would those be?
I'm just curious if you've, again, heard much about Botox.
Not really. I know some of my friends are taking it. But that's about it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, hey, again, you've got some smart friends. It's always best to start early.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is one of those treatments that the sooner you start on it, the better it works for you in the long run. And the whole goal is to really relax your muscles so those wrinkles stay controlled. And then basically you need less and less treatments as you get older.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Now, is this something that you might be more interested in?
Um, Maybe not at this time.
Gotcha. Sure. Hey, no worries at all. Again, I do run a medical spa and we offer a variety of services. Do you want to just come in for a free consultation and I just kind of can show you a generic game plan of what you could look like, let's say in a month?
Um, I'm okay. Thank you though.
Okay, sure thing. No problem at all. And again, if you change your mind, you've got my phone number information here, and we can stay in touch.
Cool. And what did you think, Samuel, about all that?
I was really hoping for that sale, but because
Yeah.
honestly, most of the time, like 90% of the time, they're like, oh yeah, sure, okay, yeah, let me just come in and get an evaluation or something. Like, and I
Yeah.
can usually get them set for an evaluation, or no, I'm really, or I'll get a response like, hey, like I really wanted the price. Like, price is the main priority for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's where
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like, okay, well, if price is a priority, basically, what other things are you considering? Because again, that's where I will usually try to mention the experience and again the quality of product and the longevity of how long it lasts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, safe space, community. Rena, what did you think about this interaction?
I can be candid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll only help. It'll help us as a whole.
Yeah, it just sounds kind of salesy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it could use a little bit more warmth to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like genuine warmth. Like it kind of sounds like you're forcing it. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And great points, Samuel. I this is a point of growth because when I was learning, I had to ask people, women, because most of our clientele are women, right? Because I had to learn a different way of connecting, right? I just want to say that here are the points that I wrote down for you, and I think that if you work on these things, it'll continue to get better, right? So, um, you mentioned like what have I tried before in the past? I said hydrofacial, um, and I was happy with it. I said it already, and then you kind of repeated like, were you happy with it? Right? So it's almost like a redundant thing. So me, for talking about not breaking cadence and cadence, like that was like, I just asked, I just told you,
Got it.
right? So this is where like the active listening comes into play. You did, and I know this is your first, this is the first rep, right? So take this with a grain of salt. You did ask some yes or no questions, right? Did you like it? Yeah, right. But changing that to, oh, what did you like about that?
Okay.
Right. So yes and no questions typically break cadence. And then now it's like, yes, and then I'm done thinking. Right. So
Gotcha.
the biggest thing is to anchor in emotions from my past, right? You did ask, are you looking for any improvement? But we didn't kind of like date first. That make sense?
Okay.
Right? Because like um a way of dating for especially in the hydrofacial example would be like, oh, I liked hydrofacial, and then kind of reiterating, oh, what did you like about that? Right? Or if is anything you would change if you could? Here's a big one that um, I think will kind of seal the deal if you get this right. If I said, or I said, like, when you ask, like, hey, what about Botox? Or why are you looking at Botox? Right. I said, yeah, a couple of my friends have done it. Right. You transition to the next thing, but to really anchor in like and make it real for me, be like, oh, well, if I'm listening to this, I'm like, oh, my friends have done it, or this person told me his friends have done it. How do we anchor an emotion to that, right? So if he's coming in and his friends have done it, they've obviously, or my hypothesis is they probably liked it. But for him to say that, oh, my friends have done it and they've gotten results, it's that scenario of this person did it. Why not me?
So would a better answer have been, well, hey, let's get you to join your friends?
No, it
Or
would
is
be
that
like,
still too strong, pushy
yeah,
sales?
it would be like, hey, well, when you're, what type of results did your friends get with Botox? Right. So the biggest thing that I could recommend is I think you have the framework to, like the types of questions to ask, but it's just rephrasing it in a way where you're not doing most of the talking at this stage, right? Because I did notice when you hit that roadblock, you started to get in like sales mode where it's like, oh, we do this, we do that, right?
That's all I know.
Yeah, well, that's why
So
you're
that's
here,
all I
right?
can break. I need to break it.
You do.
So
And uh, I want to say this, and I know we're going to talk on your one-on-one, right, in terms of like your previous marketing initiatives and campaigns and stuff. But typically, at least for the clinics that I've consulted with, we typically don't have a lead problem, right? It's more so building connections problem, and this is part of it, right? And yeah, I think you're almost there. You're almost there. And I think with a little fine tuning on like the NAPQ and understanding that framework, content will fall into place, right? Experience will fall into place. And then as you get profits and reinvest back into the clinic, you can articulate that back to your front desk staff or client coordinators that you hire. So that way you're scaling and getting yourself out of the day to day. Because right now you're wearing multiple hats.
yeah,
And I acknowledge that. But focusing on this through reps is how we get you out of that. Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Well, we have it's valuable to me, right? I feel good about this call. Uh, I don't know if we have time for the second scenario, but you guys will have access to that Q&A, right? I want to put this up for Q&A. Um, any questions on kind of what we went over? No? You guys are masters already?
Do you want to run a scenario with Rena?
If you're open to it, Rena,
We could.
hey, dive in. Dive in. It's almost like I just got an Orange Theory membership and I go at like 5:15 and I woke up at 5:10. Like, should I do this? And I went. It's like 5 minutes down from where I live. So I was like, let's just do it. Dive in. That's how we get better. All right. So, same question, Rena. What is the service that you feel most comfortable with?
Probably hydrofacials.
Okay. Um, any okay. Um, so we'll go with that. The scenario is just like with Samuel. I opted in to be a hydrofacial lead. Saw your ad. You're calling me. Keep the names the same. We'll go from there.
Yeah. Hi, Jordan.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Rena from Ronnie Beauty Clinic. Your name came across our desk and we saw you were interested in our hydrofacial. What got you interested in our ad?
Um, yeah, no, I saw it and I saw all the stuff that it was sucking out of people's faces. Looked pretty gnarly. Just wanted to see if
Uh-huh.
I could check it out.
Yeah, have you had a hydrofacial before?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, okay. Are you familiar with the process?
Not really, no.
Okay, yeah. So what we do is when you come in, we'll do a skin scan for you, and that will kind of base your treatment plan from there. After that, we'll do a deep cleaning with steam, and then a dermaplaning treatment. After that, it'll be the four-step hydrofacial where we'll do infusions and extractions and get your skin looking clean and healthy. After that, we do red light therapy, which will thicken the dermal layer of your skin and give you a nice, longer lasting glow. How does that sound to you?
Uh, sounds like a lot.
Yes, it is, and it feels so good.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, honestly.
Do you have any skin concerns right now?
Um, uh, Honestly, I just want to look more refreshed.
Definitely. A lot of our one of my favorite parts of the hydrofacial is the lymphatic drainage massage, and that helps to release a lot of any blockages in your lymph nodes and makes people look very much more refreshed and relaxed. It's
Okay.
the treatment as well.
Okay.
Yeah. What questions do you have for me about this?
I don't even know. You said a lot to me. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Can I call you back if I'm interested at all?
Sure, when would be a good time for us to give you a call back?
Um, I don't know, like next week.
Okay, what I can do is I can send you some information and a video of the treatment. And
Mm,
whenever you're ready, just let us know and we'll be happy to book you in.
sure. Pause. Anyone want to comment on how that went, other than Rena? And then I'll ask Rena for constructive criticism.
Again, great overview of treatment. Um, but I also kind of saw Jordan's face kind of change where it's like, whoa, you're throwing a lot at me. Like, what am I signing up for
Mm,
with just a hydrofacial?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
usually it shows all of those things in the video ad. So they're
right.
kind of like know going in what's going to be a part of it.
Is that proven?
Most times, yes.
Uh, well, is it concrete data? Like the percentage of people
Not
know?
like statistical, it's just experiential based on what we've.
Anecdotal?
Mhm.
Yeah. So we got to go in. I'm going to expedite this because I know we have like 6 minutes left.
Mhm.
Um, my recommendation for you, obviously, more reps, right? And this is how we get better. But for everybody, active listening, right? Because you asked me in the beginning, oh, what do you know about hydrofacial, right?
Yes.
I don't know. This is my first time. What we don't know is I could just be, this is my first time into aesthetics. I just saw an ad,
Mhm.
right? We didn't get that, right? What happened, and more likely because this is your first time, like kind of emulating this, right? Which is totally fine. We went back to like old sales mode, right?
Mhm.
So I was trying to act, right? Like, I don't even, this is like too technical for me. I don't even know what's going on, right? And it's almost like how I don't, I don't throw the technicalities of marketing because if it's perceived as too technical, I'm just going to be like, this is a problem. I'm not going to do this,
Mhm.
right? So it's like that fight or flight thing. That make sense?
Mhm.
So just to slow things down and to be like, oh, okay, well, what about hydrofacial? Caught your eye. Okay. Anything else? Right? We typically, not typically, we don't want to be salesy in the connecting stage. Right? We just want to wait until we go through all the stages because that's when we kind of lose the sale, like psychologically. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Cool. Don't want to put you down, right? I think it's good that we're practicing. And I think we will get better with reps, right?
Yes.
What what could have been a better approach then, as far as instead of, for example, with Rena going into, hey, this is all about the hydrofacial treatment game plan, like what would have been a good or better approach in the initial phase of, making that relationship?
Yeah. So like, we don't get exit the connecting stage. I don't think at all, right? So when I said like, oh, I think I don't want to say anything wrong, right? Because I was in the moment, right, and trying to like retain and coach. But I believe what you said was, what about hydrofacial caught your eye, or have you done hydrofacial before? And I said no, right? A good pattern interrupt is like, oh, well, why are you even looking this way, right? Other than you seeing like it's sucking things out of your face, right? And it looks pretty gnarly. Like, why do you even want to do it, right? Just ask. Because the biggest thing that I see is kind of, I'm just going to use you as an example, Rena, when you said like, oh, they should already know this, right? If we think like that for every prospect, that's only a small percentage, right? A lot of people, when they see your value driven ad, when you make it, they're going to view you as like the person, right? And they're going to be like, I don't, I'm connecting with you on a personal level. I'm seeing that you're offering hydrofacial. I'm just going to see what this might be. And even though you might put it on the ad, not a lot of people will remember the nuances, but they will sure as hell remember how you made them feel. Right. So we don't want to assume that they know the process. And if they know the process, we just validate it. Right. When they're like, oh, yeah, I know the process, blah, blah, blah. They're just selling your own service if they say your process. But either way, you got to get them to say it. Right. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Cool. 2 minutes left, guys. Any last questions that I can answer to provide value and guidance before we end day 4 of the challenge, believe it or not?
What are some tools or resources that you would recommend to us to sharpen these skills besides maybe practicing more role play, like
Role plays.
more reps?
More reps, right? It's like role plays like this in communities like this or live, right? I think role plays here are invaluable because we're not spending any money on leads, right? It's a safe spot. And, I think from other business owners in our field, we can, give honest critiques, which only makes us better, right? So I think that's how we learn. So that's why we meet weekly, like internally, to talk about common objections, how we should tackle things and whatnot. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. There's not like a AI tool or something that will get you efficient at this. Unfortunately, it's just reps. Yeah. Cool.
Is there like a flow chart or something that you have on like how to go about the call?
It's just the framework, right? The framework here. So connecting situation, problem, solution, consequence. It's just like a linear flow. So we hit on every single one of these stages. All right. So I guess that's a flow chart. Just imagine there's a down arrow, right? Going down towards every stage.
Okay.
Cool.
Yes, thank you so much.
Of course, guys. See you guys tomorrow. Samuel, I'll see you in a bit.
Yay, thank
Cool.
you.
Yep.